Let's just get this out of the way first. If you've played Majora's Mask before and did not like it, this is not going to change your mind. It's still at its core the same game that was released in 1999, but now it's got a shiny new pretty paint job. But if you did love Majora's Mask before, well, you're going to love this game as well. However, there has been some changes that you might not necessarily like. And if you've never played Majora's Mask before, I don't know what the fuck you're doing watching this, because you should really go and play Majora's Mask. Reviewing wise, this is a bit of a strange one, because I don't really need to review the game per se. Realistically, you don't need me to tell you how good Majora's Mask is. There's already thousands of articles and reviews on the internet singing its praises. However, there are only really 3 questions that you need to be answered. How does the game hold up today? What changes have been made to the game? And do the changes improve the game at all? First of all, the game definitely holds up, but on the subject of changes, not all of them for the better. On the upside, the visual update to the graphics make the game look better than ever. It still keeps the feel and style of the original, but getting rid of the weird, blocky Nintendo 64 textures that, let's be honest, don't really stand up as well today. No more triangular moon noses from now on, guys. And while in most 3DS games I would find myself turning the 3D feature off, on Majora's Mask I had it on most of the time. It doesn't add anything to the gameplay at all, it's just in this game I didn't mind having it on. The menus in this game and item management itself has been improved exponentially. It's the same menu system from Ocarina of Time 3D, which makes switching out items a lot simpler, looking at your map a lot easier by having it on your bottom screen the entire time, and of course, playing songs that you can now have on your screen instead of trying to memorise them off by heart, which is all incredibly useful and makes the game a lot more nicer to play, rather than tediously going through your menu the entire time. One of the updates I appreciate the most though is to the Bomber's Notebook, which you used to keep track of your side quests in the original. It's been revamped and now is more useful than ever. Not only now can you see what time you have to do something or what side quests you have, but you can also set an alarm to remind you to do that certain side quest. As all the quests have certain events that happen at a certain time, it's very easy to lose track of what you're doing by just, playing the game. So having the alarm feature is incredibly useful. In the case of bosses and how you acquire certain items, quite a bit has been switched up. Not only do now the bosses have a bigger variety of ways to defeat them, but some have been changed completely, which I especially appreciate for the third boss, Georg. I died so many times to Georg in the original because he was just cheap and annoying, and the stage, it was just a terrible boss fight. But now, in the 3D version, thankfully they've fixed all that and he's actually a fun boss fight now. Who knew? On the topic of items, the way you acquire certain items and masks have changed slightly, which in certain cases makes much more sense than how you acquired them originally. The best example of this is now being able to double your magic bar by collecting all the stray fairies in the first dungeon as opposed to the second dungeon being very magic intensive. Nintendo has added a new feature to Majora's Mask as well. The best minigame from Ocarina of Time, motherfucking fishing. Yep, the cripplingly addicting fishing game from Ocarina of Time has been added in here, with the twist of only being able to catch certain fish with certain masks at certain times, but who cares, I want to fish them more, because it's awesome. But now I have to talk about the changes I take issue with, and sadly they are quite big ones. My main problem being how Zora Link controls. In the original you had unlimited dash in the wall, which made swimming around the areas a lot more fun and a lot more simple. However, in the new version, the dash drains your magic meter and drains it ridiculously fast. So for a big portion of the Zora-based parts of the game, I was left without any mana at all, unable to complete simple puzzles like lighting a torch with fire arrows or creating ice platforms with ice arrows in the Great Bay Temple, a part that is crucial to completing the dungeon. On the upside, Link has more of a controlled swim instead of just sinking to the bottom having to walk around like he did in the Nintendo 64 version, which makes navigating tight spaces while underwater a lot easier, but it's at the cost of the lovely free-flowing swimming around the ocean at no extra cost to your magic meter that you had before, which was one of my favourite pastimes to do in the Nintendo 64 version. It just kind of damages the experience for me. On top of that, I just found him hard to control. It felt awkward and just a bit slippery. Having to hold the R trigger to dash while using the circle pad swimming controls is slightly annoying and leaving a good portion of the game being more frustrating than challenging. They've also changed how save points work in the game and added a lot more of them. Whereas in the original game, the save points would only allow you a temporary save and the only way to properly save your day was to completely play the Song of Time and return to the first day, in Majora's Mask 3D, all the owl statues now act as a permanent save. Sadly, this acts as a bit of a double-edged sword for me. Whereas it's made the game more accessible for new players, I don't think they really needed to change it. It almost makes the game too easy now, where the original difficulty didn't just come from the fact you had to push through dungeons, countless enemies and bosses, but you had a strict time limit to do it in. Before, if you didn't figure it out in time, you would have to try again in a new cycle. Now you can just go back to your last save before said dungeon or boss. It was the mentality that made Dark Souls so popular. If you fail, there will be consequences. Personally, if you really want the best Majora's Mask experience, the Nintendo 64 version is still the one to play, but to newcomers, this is the better version. While the game may be easier, it's definitely now more accessible to anyone diving in for the first time. Even though there's a few tweaks to the gameplay that irked me slightly, the other changes they implemented have improved the game. Majora's Mask is still great, the core experience is still there, so while I rate the older one higher, Majora's Mask 3D is still one 3DS game you should definitely have in your library. Hey, thanks for watching my video on Majora's Mask 3D. If you would like to read a fully written review that goes into more detail on my opinions on the subject, you can follow the link on screen to read that review instead. If you want to see more videos that I've done, to the left we have top 5 disappointing video game weapons, so that's something. And then to the right we have my other video, which is called The Best Bits, and I talk about my favourite part of Shadow of the Colossus. Anyway, stay tuned for another review that should be coming quite soon, and I also have been working on another top 10, so that's on the way. Anyway, again, thanks for watching, and I will see you again later.